you saying?
I'm saying I've never seen you in any movies, any TV shows, or anything, any animated TV shows. Like, I have no idea what you can do. Do you even have any powers?
Look, you fuck y'all niggas for real, cause y'all trying to play me.
Moon Knight was an interesting show. If you've been following my channel, then you may know that it was one of my most anticipated MCU projects of the year. There were a lot of moments in this series that had me in awe and glued to the screen. There were some others that I felt were a little bit predictable, and some moments that left me scratching my head a little bit. Like most things on the internet, there are two sides to the coin on this Moon Knight show.
Moon Knight rules.
Very definition of does not need to exist.
So let's talk about it. I really like how disconnected from the overall world of the MCU this felt. And I honestly hope they continue to do that as they introduce new characters. I understand the reasoning why making some attached to the previous characters right off the bat because it makes sense for the story, but not all of the new characters they introduce in the future will. So I'm glad that even though they are eventually going to lead up to an overarching story, that we can still get these street level contained stories as well. My favorite aspects of the show is when it was acting like a psychological thriller or even a horror story. I felt like that's when the series was at its best. That's something that we don't really see in the MCU too often. A lot of the shots had a lot of the director's personality in them, and I hope they continue to allow directors to have that type of free reign when they're filming. And I always seem to enjoy things where actors get to play multiple people in a series or a movie, and Oscar Isaac really shined when he was able to do that. People seem to be pretty hit or miss on Ethan Hawke's Harrow, but I actually enjoyed his character. I really expected him to be a pretty typical power-hungry villain, but by the time he actually raised the spirit of the god he was an avatar to, we saw that he was willing to accept any consequence necessary for his scales being unbalanced. We also saw that even though his scales were unbalanced, Amet did not kill him simply because she didn't want to be re-imprisoned, and she trusted somebody whose scales were balanced and still ended up in that situation. So we get to see that Harrow's philosophy that he's been living by this whole time is flawed. There were a few things I found pretty predictable in the series, and they didn't make for a bad viewing experience for me or anything like that, but it did take away a little bit of excitement when the things were actually revealed. The predictable thing in the series for me was that Layla was going to get inhabited by a god. Now at first I did think that god was going to be Khonshu, but soon as the other avatars were introduced and we see Layla pop up at the pyramids, I pretty much knew what we were going for at that point. The last super predictable thing was the third act battle. Now, I knew we were going to do some big epic set piece, and I figured that would be a big battle between the gods, Amet and Khonshu, and that's definitely what we got in the background. Thankfully, it wasn't only focused on them, because if it was, it would have taken away a lot of the stakes. But to be fair, there were things that I didn't predict, like the third personality taking over, and that third personality being the one to take out Harrow at the end. The finale of this series was very underwhelming. It kind of just came and went. I didn't have any strong negative or positive feelings when the series ended. In a show that for the most part took a lot of risk and did a lot of experimenting, the finale just felt very bland and pretty safe. And I felt like making the finale of Moon Knight basically be an origin episode for the Scarlet Scarab to be a really weird choice. And I don't necessarily care that the Scarlet Scarab is gender swapped. I don't know of or care about the character in general, so that part doesn't really bother me. But I hope this doesn't become a pattern, which is basically using these MCU shows that are supposedly about a title character that are actually just introducing another character. I don't mind the setup for another character, but it felt like she kind of just took over the show in the finale. And there was one scene that really took me out of the experience when she was stuck to the car and she had her wing up and they were just sitting there shooting her wing. The entire lower half of her body was exposed. They could have easily shot her. I mean, she was badass. Her outfit looked cool and all that, but this is something that I would have liked to have seen happen in season 2 or season 3. I just felt like the ending of this was extremely rushed. They basically spent episodes 1 through 4 in Act 1, then Act 2 was episode 5, and Act 3 was episode 6. I just feel like the series needed a little more room to breathe. Maybe making this 9 or 10 episodes, even
Even 8 would have helped it.
I don't know, man. I just wish there was more Moon Knight in this series in general. In roughly 3.5 hours of content, Moon Knight was only in it for about 18 or 19 minutes. Final thoughts on the series. As a whole, I enjoyed the show. I am enjoying Oscar Isaac in the role and interested to see him reprise it in some way, shape, or form, whether it be a continuation of the series or having him pop up somewhere else in the MCU. He's dealing with gods. There's other entities in the MCU dealing with gods like Thor and Black Panther. Maybe he pops up in one of their movies eventually. I think this show was very beautifully done in some aspects, a little messy in other aspects, and it kind of dropped the ball in the finale, but it was very solid overall. What did you guys think of Moon Knight? Let me know down in the comments.